There are mysterious things in this world, and I am one of them. I can fly. Yes, folks, I can fly. Not Superman faster than a speeding bullet fly, but I can fly. I can clock out at about 12 to 15 miles per hour, which is fine. I discovered I could fly on November 11th, 2016. I live in a remote area of Maine, and on that morning, I went out for my daily run. A white pine had fallen across my path, and without breaking stride, I jumped over it. I jumped, but I didn't come back down. So there I was, flailing around in midair, my arms and legs flapping about, my mind trying to comprehend what was happening. How? And why? It took several weeks to sort of master my new ability, and certainly I wasn't as graceful as the loons who escorted me during flights. And what must they have thought? A people who flies? Without wings? I wasn't sure how high I could fly. To the moon, maybe? But I was careful not to test my maximum altitude, never flying above the treetops. If someone had seen me, a flying person, there was a good chance I'd get kidnapped by gypsies and end up in a freak show circus, or in some government laboratory where they'd try to figure out how to weaponize me. Or were there others, like me? I was compelled to find out. And so for 2 years I left cryptic messages all across social media. Most responses were from crackpots, but some seemed like they might be genuine. And so we'd do this dance, giving up information in small bits, feeling each other out, seeing if we were genuine flyers. I found 11 others like me. All of us had discovered our ability on the same date, November 11th, 2016. Hardly a coincidence, it seemed. We began communicating via encrypted messages, always with a paranoia that Langley or Moscow or Beijing might be eavesdropping, ready to pounce and spirit us off to some Frankenstein lab. We talked about the joy of flying, and how totally weird it was, and how we just might be crazy, a condition called folie à deux, a shared group delusion. Could it be that each of us were just imagining that we could fly? But I knew with certainty that it wasn't just my imagination. I could feel it when I flew, the freedom and otherworldly sense of tranquility when unburdened by Earth's gravity. It was real. Many of the flyers I contacted were untethered from society, essentially grounded, living in areas where the population was too dense and might expose their ability. And so 6 of them decided to join me in my remote corner of Maine, in the huge farmhouse I'd inherited from my grandmother. Anissa from Jakarta, Chad from Los Angeles, Dara from Lagos, Hikaru from Tokyo, Anton from Prague, and Veronica from Mexico City. Hikaru put a pencil to it. They had come from cities with a total population of almost 90 million and now lived in the outskirts of a small town in Maine, population 894. We settled in easily. Our uncommon ability was a common bond. We became a family, self-sufficient. A local farmer gave us an old Guernsey cow, which we named Cow. Her milk-producing days were declining, but the farmer didn't have the heart to haul her off to the stockyard. "She's been a good old gal," he told us. "Take care of her." And we did, and she returned the favor with plenty of milk for the 7 of us. Chad bartered his mechanic skills for chickens. We scraped together a few dollars to buy some goats, from which Veronica fashioned delectable artisan cheese. And Green Thumb Dara cultivated my grandmother's garden plot and grew the most heavenly heirloom tomatoes on the planet. I traded in my old Honda for an old 7-seater Dodge van, and we built a roof rack for it. Each Saturday we'd load the roof rack with our homegrown treasures and sell them at the weekly farmers market. Our biggest income producer was Anton. He'd been a furniture maker in Prague and transformed the property's oak into magnificent furniture. His furniture was sold at the hardware store in town, and soon people were driving miles each Saturday to buy his masterpieces. Our Saturday ritual, after our commerce, was to go to the sour fridge for Johnny cakes or lobster rolls, a side of sautéed fiddlehead ferns, finishing with fresh blueberry pie, designated as the official dessert of the state of Maine. Everyone there was nice, Except for the occasional snide, whispered accusations that we were a hippie commune or members of a sex cult. We didn't care. We had each other, and we had the birds. The birds were with us on those Saturdays. They would gather as we loaded the van and follow us into town. Cuckoos, swifts, cranes, sandpipers, and others. When we reached town, they would find a perch and wait for us, as if they knew we had some sort of kinship, or knew something about us that probably we didn't even know, and might never know. More likely, though, they waited for us because they'd figured out we bought sunflower seeds and cracked corn by the bushel. Upon return to our farmhouse, the 7 of us would fly, together. Special were the cloudless nights with a full moon, a fairy tale brought to life. We adopted a German shepherd from the animal shelter, and in keeping with the name we gave Cow, we named him Dog. After he settled in, he'd alert us if someone wandered onto the property, an early warning system that we were to remain grounded. It wasn't all lollipops and rainbows, by any means. Being self-sufficient was work, and there were some occasional tensions, as you might expect, from 7 individuals under the same roof and the same sky. But rarely would they rise to the level of even a minor squabble. Whose hasn't been pulling their weight, doing the dishes, that sort of thing. Minor stuff. We always found ways to amuse ourselves, like the time we put on a performance of dramatic and goofy superhero 3-point landings from Marvel movies. We spent a month making garish spandex superhero suits and eye masks. On show night, each of us would fly, and then land in a comic crouch on one hand and one knee, arms skyward. My inspiration was Baby Doll in the 2011 movie Sucker Punch. Baby Doll never mussed her hair when sticking the perfect landing. Extra coolness was when we'd slowly raise our head and eyes and shoot a psychotic and threatening death stare, accompanied by a sly grin, anticipating what this superhero was going to do next. Even Dog thought it was amusing, his eyes bright, his tail wagging. And the nesting instinct took over as we eventually paired up. Since we were an odd number, that left one out, and that one was Chad. But he didn't seem to mind, and it wasn't like there were online dating sites for people who can fly. And so, how does all this end? Well, it doesn't. As of this telling, the 7 of us are still here, in the woods, in the farmhouse. We haven't formed a superhero vigilante group to bring to justice the mailbox thieves in town, and we haven't been rounded up by men in white suits and spirited away to some undisclosed location. We're just here, uncommon friends with an uncommon ability. Nice. Very nice.